The Lebanese are always late.
Good morning. صباح الخير على اللبنانية اللي ورا. يلا. Here you go. تفضلوا. Good morning, everybody.
Oh.
No good morning. See,
No.
entrepreneurs did much better
Exactly.
yesterday. No good morning today? All right, let's try again. You want to try it again?
Günaydın. All right, it's 9:30.
It's not working.
It's not working.
We need coffee.
People with money just don't want to say good morning. They're very stringent with how much they spend their words and money. Anyways, we're going to figure it out.
All right, so welcome to the second day of Startup Istanbul. And as we can see, it's a different crowd today. We had entrepreneurs buzzing yesterday in the room, and they were excited. We had mentorship sessions running, in the next room, and it was a lot of energy. And we can see the excitement and the worries in their eyes and their hearts as well, because the eliminations were yesterday, and 50 startups only were selected to go to the second round. So we want to wish them all luck, the ones who passed, and hopefully we'll see today the rest of the pitches. They're going to be divided. 25 will go first in the first session, 25 will go second. And we can't wait to see, what they have done. They worked really hard. Some of them traveled from all around the world, from very, very far places. So hopefully we'll give them the right encouragement today for that. So before we kick off our next session today, we would like you to meet each other, again. I mean, yesterday was the Entrepreneurs' Day. So what we're about to do is we're going to kindly ask you to stand up. Rise, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So what you are going to do, you're going to...
So we're going to divide the room based on the amount of funding you guys are going to spend to the end of this. No kidding, I'm kind of kidding, but not really. So those who are coming from the corporate world, whose companies are not yet investing, you may be seated. So you can take your seats if you're coming from a company who is not yet willing to invest to their companies. So, okay. So now the rest of you are claiming that you have some sort of capital to invest in startups, I'm assuming. So take a look around each other. So have eye contact with the investors. No, we'll start the bargaining later. Yeah. Where are you from, my friend? Saudi? Where are you from? Huh?
I'm now in
Istanbul, but where are you from originally?
I'm
Palestinian, like bargaining. Every time you have to bargain. There's no way out. Exactly, yeah. Good luck. I agree. It's worse with the Turkish. So the reason why, you may be seated, thank you so much. The reason why we wanted to kind of divide the room into two is to show you a little bit of what's going to come next with Azra, especially talking about syndicates and investing, and also that this part of the country, this part of the region, East and West, still do not have a lot of capital that flows to the startups. There are a lot of interested companies. That's why I wanted the companies to sit first. There is some interest in innovation, trying to find new methods, trying to encourage startups to work with the companies. But we have a long way to go. And we believe that, I'm in San, by the way, again, we forgot to introduce ourselves for those who haven't met us. My name is Ozan Sönmez. I'm currently living in San Francisco, running an accelerator program, running a few accelerator programs, also a small micro fund. Our aim is to be able to bring startups from Turkey and emerging economies to San Francisco and have them understand the mechanics, how it works, why it works, and why it doesn't work in their countries, and how they can make it in a larger ecosystem, in a large market. So my job is to vet startups. Before that, I worked in King Abdullah University of Science and Technology in Saudi Arabia with Amal. We build accelerator programs for scientific entrepreneurs, science-based entrepreneurs, and we managed to run a few accelerators as well. So from that experience that we had been sharing, we have seen that the number of angel investors in the region is very minimal. And there are some people who call them angel investors, but they don't belong in this world. They belong to the other world. They're not angels. I hope they rest in peace somewhere else away from startups because they're toxic. So we are here to support the startups And we are here to support the angel investors who will support the startups. Because that's at the end of the day, they do the work, you guys support them. If they are successful, we are all successful. And what about you? What are you up to now?
What am I up to?
Yeah.
You mean in the next session, or what am I up to in what exactly?
Yeah, at least introduce yourself. We really hate to introduce ourselves.
All right, so my name is Amal Dokhan. I'm the director of Babson Global Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership. It's located in Prince Mohammed bin Salman College. It's in Saudi Arabia. This is a newly established college for entrepreneurship in Saudi. And my role is basically to deal with building some of the initiatives in Saudi Arabia, programs for SMEs, for startups, and for women and female entrepreneurship in particular. Previously, I worked at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, working with scientists, postdocs. I was a lecturer of entrepreneurship and technology innovation, and mostly dealing with inventions inside the lab and how do we commercialize them and bring them to the market. And what a journey, I would say, was that, to take someone from the lab who's completely invested technically in the technology and everything they do and convince them that there is a customer out there. That is quite an interesting time, when you mention that a customer has needs and it may not match what you are building in the lab. And it takes time for that to actually be brought. But the real challenge is when we put them in front of investors, right? And that's the real awakening moment when they tell them, why are you doing that and what problem are you solving? And then, reality hits because all what they want to talk about is the technology, right? So we do understand, I think, parts of the pains of the investors when they talk to entrepreneurs who just want to talk about the product, right? And not really have a full understanding of the market and what it inquires and the competitions and all of that. So hopefully today, it will be an interesting session, I think, talking about, the angel investment training. Your participation is needed. We want to understand your worries, and what you go through, and what are the things bring up all these issues and conflicts, I would say, and making your life harder over here, right? And we want to hear from both sides, because normally we either hear from the investors, or we hear, from the entrepreneurs, or we hear from the people that give views, on different sides, right, from the corporate side. So hopefully you'll enjoy this session, and we will hear a lot from you, and I'll leave it to you, Ozan, to introduce our amazing guests that are awaiting now.
So last year when I moved to San Francisco, one of the first places that I was able to go and try to build partnerships with was Draper University. The Draper network as an investor group is very valuable, but we are working in a very early stage. So I was able to meet Azra and her team, and Tim Draper and his whole crew. And finally, it's really good. We did the Startup San Francisco event hosted by Draper University. And now it's my really great pleasure to introduce my friend to Azra, who will talk about the intersection of partnership and cooperation and how you can actually get things done in the angel investing world. So allow me to welcome Azra to stage with a thunderclap.